Welcome back to This is a Commander channel, where this is a Commander channel, and today I'm going to be talking about Commander Tough Rules and Cool Interactions, episode 196. Today's episode is going to take a look at some things that I saw happen at MagicCon Atlanta that I was just recently at. In fact, my voice is kind of recovered by now. I kind of lost it from watching Game Nights Live. I have gotten back from it now, and I had a blast. Expect some videos specifically about that in the future. But for now, and for the next few weeks for the typical rules videos that I release on Wednesdays, I will be covering some things that I witnessed in the games that I saw there, whether they were games that I was participating in or just games that were going on next to me that I was watching. And if these are things that, enfranchised players that are dedicated enough to travel to a MagicCon, if they struggle with these things, well, there are probably some things that I should cover on here because other players are likely to struggle to grasp them. So for today, we're going to cover a situation that I overheard next to me while I was in the Commander Free Play section, and it involved a player having out their Leonin Arbiter, so we'll call them Player A. And Leonin Arbiter is a creature that has a static ability that says players can't search libraries. Any player may pay 2 mana for that player to ignore this effect until end of turn. Then player B casts their Banisher Priest, which has an ETB that says, when this creature enters, exile target creature an opponent controls until this creature leaves the battlefield. And when it entered, they targeted player A's Arbiter. And then finally, player A wanted their Arbiter back, and so they cast their Path to Exile, which I'm sure most, if not everyone, watching this knows what it does, but I'll still read it as it is quite important to this scenario. And it is an instant that says, exile target creature, its controller may search their library for a basic land card, put that card onto the battlefield tapped, then shuffle. And they targeted player A's Banisher Priest, and this immediately brought back their Arbiter, reintroducing its static ability to the game, and so because of that, player B paid their 2 generic mana to be able to search their library for their basic land, as instructed by the rest of the Path's effect. So that is what happened in the situation, and many of you might be wondering why I just read through that, as it all makes sense. But of course, this is Magic, and sometimes it just isn't that easy. So I'll cut right to the answer, but for those who do want to understand why the answer is what it is, I will of course be covering that in detail for the rest of the video. The rules error that was made is that player B would not have been able to pay the 2 generic mana to ignore the Arbiter's static ability. So now let's get into the nitty-gritty of why that is, why that's an error. First, we need to know what that Banisher Priest's ability is, and it's something called a one-shot effect. And we can see in CR 610.3 that some one-shot effects cause an object to change zones until a specified event occurs. A second one-shot effect is created immediately after the specified event. This second one-shot effect returns the object to its previous zone. And this means that we will not wait to trigger any ability to bring back the exiled card when the priest leaves the battlefield. It will happen immediately and not wait for the rest of the Path to Exile to finish resolving. In the case of a card like Admonition Angel, it does have a separate triggered ability that will bring those exiled cards back, so they would have to wait for the Path to finish resolving. That's why that part is not the error of that scenario, and that it is correct that the Arbiter will be on the battlefield before player B continues to resolve the instructions from the Path to search their library, and the Arbiter stops them. So now let's cover why they can't pay that 2 mana to end up actually being able to search their library. In Magic, there are things called special actions. As of making this video, there are currently 12 special actions in the game, and they are kind of like activated abilities as just a quick comparison, but they have quite a few important differences. A little history bit as well. Special actions used to be called fast effects when the game first came out, and this was even before the stack was a thing. The stack hadn't been created yet in 6th edition. One of the most common special actions that players will encounter in a typical game of Commander will be the act of playing your land once a turn on your turn. Special actions do not use the stack, but they do still require that you have priority in order to take that special action. There is one special action of those 12 in particular, CR 116.2D, that says, some effects from static abilities allow a player to take an action to ignore the effect from that ability for a duration. Doing so is a special action. A player can take such an action anytime they have priority. So we can see that this is in regards to the static ability on the Arbiter, but then we will need to cover one last thing to make it all make sense, and that is that bit about priority. The section in the rules covering timing and priority is CR 117. There's quite a bit there, so feel free to go and check that section out as it goes into great detail as to when priority is given and how it is passed around to players and a whole lot more. But the important thing to take from all of that section is that players do not receive priority during or mid the process of a spell or ability resolving. That is where the issue lies with this whole Arbiter scenario. Normally, with the static ability on the Arbiter, you would take your special action when you have priority, sometime probably during your pre-combat main phase, and then you'd have priority again to be able to then activate the ability or cast the spell that you would involve yourself searching your library. But in this case, the Arbiter isn't yet on the battlefield when the part of the spell, the path, begins to resolve. And therefore, there is no available special action to pay for the ignoring of that part. Then, mid-resolution of the path, the Arbiter and therefore his special action do now exist, but because we're still mid-resolution of the path, no players are given priority. And so you cannot take the action to pay the 2 mana in order to ignore the Arbiter. And so you cannot search your library. Special actions are fast, but they're not that fast. Bonus bit of rules on the Arbiter. Let's say player A controls the Arbiter and player B controls a Sakura Tribe Elder, and they want to use that Tribe Elder to search for a basic land. So they take that special action to pay the 2 mana to ignore it, and then they crack their Sakura Tribe Elder to be able to search their library for the land. Did you know that if player A wants to be very, very mean, they could actually flicker the Arbiter, and this would actually force player B to once again have to be able to pay the 2 mana in order to search for their library, in order to ignore that effect, that static ability on the Arbiter, and then to be able to search. Yeah, it's kind of mean. When objects change zones, they lose all memory of their previous self, and this includes something like their static ability that checks to see if it has been paid for to be ignored. Quite a mean thing to do, but if you're in some cutthroat, high-power games, this has a possibility for you to really mess with and slow down your opponents, especially if they didn't anticipate having to pay it a second time. They just may not even have that mana available to pay to ignore it again, and they just sacked their Sakura Tribe Elder and get no chance to pay more mana to still search for that basic if they need it. So, yeah, very mean thing to do. Anyhow, that's all I've got for today's episode. As always, I hope that all of you have found this video to be entertaining at least, and I hope that a few of you have even learned something about the crazy rules in this great game of Magic. Have a good one. Ta-ta. And yeah, MagicCon was really cool. I have not gone to an event like that for Magic specifically since 2008. 8 was the last thing that I went to. Maybe we'll get into some details of that over time, a little backstory, a little lore of this is a Commander guy. But yeah, I met some really, really cool, amazing people. I got to meet a lot of content creators that I personally love to watch and listen to. I got to meet Mark Rosewater, got to meet Gavin Verhey, got to compete in some really, really fun events. I didn't do anything super, super competitive. I was there for a very casual experience. My buddies that were there, they were doing a lot of competitive stuff. I'll probably get some pictures and videos. I was asking people a lot of trivia questions and giving out free cards to people that were able to answer it. I don't know how much of my footage I'll be able to use for that because apparently my trivia questions were very, very, very mean and difficult. I don't think I really pissed anybody off, per se. Nobody straight up called me out on like, dude, these questions are really, really tough. But a very large percentage of people that I asked did not get these questions. So I don't, and a lot of them were just a lot of people going, the whole time. So my goal is not to embarrass anybody. I don't want to embarrass anybody by just showing footage of them saying, for 5 minutes. I don't think any of them were close to 5 minutes, but there was definitely some that were like 3-4 minutes long, and that was a lot longer than I expected. I thought that these things would be kind of quick, maybe like a 1 minute kind of video. So I might just compile some of the better ones, some of the ones that were more engaging, that weren't just that didn't just seem depressed that they couldn't answer the question. So yeah, I might upload those at some point as a big group. Also have an idea for a new series that I kind of want to do now that I've done the face reveal. I plan on maybe doing some more podcasty kind of content. So yeah, might be on the lookout for that kind of stuff soon. So yeah, be on the lookout for that if you guys are interested in that kind of content. I'll still plan to do the rules videos on Wednesdays, but I definitely got an itch from this con, and it was really, really cool. Talking with other creators and just seeing that joy in their faces when they get to meet people who are just really, really big fans. That was really, really cool. I got to meet a few people who actually recognized my channel. That was a really, really cool experience. Sitting down next to somebody and having them look up my channel and then being like, oh wait, I'm already subscribed to you. That's crazy. That's why your voice kind of sounded familiar. Though at the time, for most of the con, my voice was shot. I really, really screamed a lot during the Game Nights Live, which happened on the very first day. So note to self for any of these future events, I will pace myself and not scream and cheer as much when I plan to do so many interviews with people and ask them questions and such. So yeah, I'm going to be quiet now because this is already getting too long already. And yeah, hope you guys enjoy it and look forward to some of that future stuff coming on out. So yeah, have a good one. Ta-ta.